All right, the next episode of the coachable podcast, CJ Bjork from Sweden. Um, Good evening or good morning to you, CJ. How you doing?
It's good lunch or whatever you say that in English. I don't know. I'm good. How are you?
Good. I'm very good. Yeah, thank you. Like we talked about before, we uh, we just watched in the cinema the Oppenheimer movie. It was quite interesting. And but I've been waiting for this the whole day, CJ. It's been a while since we talked. So this is I have a couple, but I must say, and you are my most favorite Swedish friend. So thank you very much for coming on the podcast.
Thanks a lot, man. We need to tell us that you only know one though, so
No, no, I'm, I know a few more than one.
yeah, yeah, I got you. I got you.
And no offense to all the other favorite Swedish dudes I know.
Yeah, you're my favorite Dutch Aussie. Just so you know,
Yeah,
it's
that's the
official.
only one you know, right?
It is actually. So
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
yeah.
That's yeah. I'm a very small minority. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. All right, man. So um, it's been a while since we'd seen each other. But like the first question that I have for the guests is, where did we meet for the first time, CJ?
I got this.
I got it. I got it. All right, good.
I'm amazing. The first question, I believe I am. Actually, my first memory of meeting you is in Team Europe, and I was a nose tackle.
That's right.
Moved from linebacker because you guys thought that I was too big to play linebacker. Because my first year, I played Mike linebacker, and the second year I came back. I'm 99.9% sure you were not the D line coach my first year. I think you
Now,
were the D line coach my second year.
so when was your first year in Team Europe?
It was either that's what I'm trying to place here. It was either my first year was either 2000 or 99
Okay,
because I did
so
2 years. I think it was
then it was 2000,
yeah.
and my first year with Team Europe was 2001, or maybe even 2002. Actually, 2002 maybe.
Because was it New Orleans when you went?
Yep.
The first year, yeah, then it's 2001 or '02. I don't know. We'll check
Yeah.
when the Super Bowl was around there, and then we know.
Yeah. 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 So look, that's funny because so I asked the question to all the guests, and most times the occasion or the moment is people remember that, right? Like myself. But all right, what year was it? Or those type of things. That's true. Yeah. No, Team Europe, absolutely. Now, when you said you guys, that wasn't me. You know, I I would have liked you to have to stay at defensive line. Yeah, no stack, like yeah, and but good things happen after that, right?
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah,
Well, the thing is this. I mean, you need to tell the truth. I mean, I was really bad at nose tackle. I think I was your fourth string nose tackle, because we did the camps in Dusseldorf before. So I actually believe probably the first time we met was probably at one of those camps in '01. I think like in probably been November or December in Düsseldorf, where the camps leading up to
yeah,
the trip to the US.
yeah, yeah, yeah,
It had to be
yeah,
because
yeah.
the year
That's
before I was Mike linebacker, but then I gained so much weight eating McDonald's every day, so I was no tackle size. So
the so let's go with 2001, right? That it
yeah,
was not 2002. So that's a lifetime ago, CJ.
it is. It's
Yeah.
several. I mean, it feels
I
like
mean,
it.
that's longer ago than the age you were at that time.
Oh yeah, that's.
Yeah.
Let me put my head around that. I'm
Mm.
confused.
So, were you on the? Was that the team where Sebastian Vollmer was he on the team? Was that year after?
He was on the team the year after.
Year after. Okay. Yeah. Yeah. So good memories, Team Europe. Now I a few years ago, actually, I was cleaning up all my football stuff, and I came through saw a notebook, and there was notes of Team Europe and a depth chart with the defensive line and all that kind of stuff. I can't remember if it was your name in there or of the second year. I can't remember, but that was like, oh man, this is a lifetime ago. Yeah, so
Yeah.
say at least 2001 and maybe 2002. So um, that's a while. Yeah, yeah. So we met Team Europe. Um, you played you played for the Swedish national youth team, if I
Yeah.
remember correctly. Yeah, yeah. So then Team Europe. Then there's a little bit of a gap, and then there is NFL Europe, right?
Yeah, for sure.
The goal with the goal with Team Europe was always finding the best players and trying to get them to college or trying to get them first, taste of professional football and all that kind of stuff. So then that you start with that that trajectory to NFL Europe, pro player, all that kind of stuff. Can you tell us a little bit about sort of how that started and how long it took you to actually make a team and all that kind of stuff?
Oh, I mean to NF Europe?
Yeah.
Yeah, well, I kind of didn't even know NF Europe existed until I did my first year of Team Europe.
Right.
And then I realized this was a possibility somewhere around there when I was 19, I think, 18 or 19. But I didn't really see it as a reality because I understood it was a professional league and I was young and I, haven't really. Also, I believe my first year I didn't even play with the top division in Sweden. I did that the second year, I believe. But it took a little while for me to realize that it was actually a possibility. And you can get like a memory of a feeling more than like maybe a very vivid memory. But I remember the first there was the NFL Europe Combine. I can't remember if it was in Frankfurt or maybe it was in Cologne because we were riding the trams. I
Well, it
can't
could be
remember.
Frankfurt as well, I guess. But like there was the tram with the Cologne combines. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, and then I remember fairly vividly a guy that you might know also, Jeff Reinbold. I don't know if you know him. He had a little speech there, like the first before all the tests were going and starting and stuff. He was talking about Richard Jancy, Christian Moore, Peter Heyer, and then one more player, I think, and told everybody about the international NFL and national program, the practice squad deal there. And I realized that before coming to that camp, I had it was all the NCAA eligibility stuff, all that very confusing things. Because I did the TOEFL test right before I went down there, and I had some junior colleges not really lined up, but I had some communication going with them, and I knew that if I stayed for longer than whatever it was, it would take
48 hours, I think,
yeah,
right?
something like
Yeah.
that. And that first speech, I knew I'm like, I'm not going to college. I'm not moving.
Yeah.
I'm not going to
Now,
college. I'm staying here.
for people who don't know this, but the TOEFL test is an English test
Yeah,
to go to college. Yeah. Okay.
pretty much. And I mean, I didn't have to do the SATs because in junior college you just need to kind of prove that you know the English language, and then
Yeah.
okay, they just want you there to play football pretty much at junior college. So, and it was as you already mentioned, it was a lifetime ago. So, um, yeah, it was there was the two choices, like the fork in the road. I was standing, it was ahead of me, and at that I remember that speech that he had, and he explained how it worked and all that good stuff, and like kind of explained how close we were if we made that NFL Europe, if we were advancing from that combine. And that's when I kind of got the more desire to really push for it.
Yeah.
And yeah, that was about when I really realized that it could be a possibility. Obviously, and if Europe being the first goal, but it was at that moment.
Cool. Yeah. And So that was the first time you went to an NFL Europe Combine?
Yeah.
Yeah. And how long was that sort of, because you said, well, that was, look, when you was Team Europe, you had to be 19 or younger, right?
For sure.
So, yeah. So that was maybe when you were 20, 21. Is that sort of
No, I
age?
was a lot older actually. It was that was in the whole
Further
tryout
down?
thing was in '04. So
Okay.
in between Team Europe and NF Europe, there was at least 4 or 5 years that I played in Sweden with Stockholm E Machines and also the Swedish national team.
Okay.
Because that's how I got the invite to the NFL Europe Combine also, because I think Patrick Izumi was one of the guys, and also, what's his name now again? I don't think he was active in the league when I started in NFL Europe later on. But there were two scouts in the national teams. Actually playing the Dutch team. We beat you with 54-0. It was a good time.
Was that in Arnhem?
I think it was. I think
Yeah.
it yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. So, you go to the combine and you get the invitation to come to camp and stuff. Which years were you active in the NFL Europe?
It was my first season was 2005. So '05 to '07 when it
Really?
folded. Yeah.
Was it
'05 was my
real? Okay. So in my mind, right, you were there longer.
Yeah, I mean, I kind of in my mind as well, because I mean, the time with Amsterdam with the Admirals was my probably best years of football when it comes to like both development and also like just having fun playing football. It was really, it was awesome. All the memories are great, and it feels like longer.
Mm,
And it's also pretty fun when you think about it because it was really condensed. I mean,
yeah.
since it was, I mean, you're in the nationals at least were in the states for a month. I mean, I believe it was a week national camp in the states first, and they had a cut, and then you had a 3 week camp when the Americans joined, and then you went over to Europe and you had a 10 week season, and if you were lucky, you had an 11 week season.
Yeah.
So it was a really condensed time, but I remember it as longer and a lot of fond memories. I also believe that it felt longer because we all stayed together in the same little hotel.
Yeah.
We were fortunate enough. I mean, in '05 and '06, I mean, you know this since you were there, to have like a fairly intact team, both in '05 and '06. In '07, we didn't, but '05 and '06 pretty much the same team,
Yeah. Yeah.
which was awesome. I mean, it was a great group of individuals. So a great group of coaches, and I had a great time. So it feels like I was there longer, but it's actually only 3 seasons.
Hmm. Yeah, that's kind of surprising. And then your first year, you win the championship. Bang.
It's a good day at the
Uh,
office.
that's so yeah. So 3 years, 3 years and two championship games, winning one.
Yeah, I actually watched the second championship game. I hadn't seen it because usually, I mean, anybody that's into football knows that the day after the game or 2 days after the game, you watch the game and you grade yourself and you know every mistake you did. I haven't seen that game, the one we played against Frankfurt that we lost until like 2 weeks ago,
Right.
uh, and it hurt. But I found on YouTube just on a fluke and watched the whole game, start to finish. Um, we should have won, but
Look, I can tell you this. I saw bits of it, but I haven't watched that whole game either. No. Um. Yeah. Whew, that's painful to think about. That
yeah.
how that game went down, right? But yeah, my God. Yeah. NFL Europe, 3 years. That surprises me really. But so after your Team Europe, what's the junior program, and then
Hmm.
those couple of years, you feel like, yeah, I need to be doing this, right? I need to get
Hmm.
better. What did you do? How did you do it? Because back then too, right? We're talking about early 2000s. Yes, there was internet,
Hmm.
but nowadays information is really everywhere. You
Hmm.
don't, if you want to be informed, you can, right?
Yep.
Back then, not so much. How did you do it?
Well, I had like early help. I mean, one of the coaches that run one of the best programs in Sweden, also Europe, the RIG, in Sweden in Uppsala, it's Robert Johansson, one of the coaches. I
Robert?
met him early in life. You know him as well.
Yep.
He helped me fairly early. I started lifting when I was 13 or 14. Did every mistake under the sun, and then he put me right. I mean, he was also active with. The team that I played with in the north of Stockholm called Tabby Flyers, and he did their strength and conditioning for a couple of seasons, um, and he really helped me. So, and then also, if you fast forward a little bit, that year when I came back for the second year, when you were the D-line coach, it was a wake up call for me because I identify myself as an athlete, you know, and all that good stuff, and being a linebacker, and also like in Swedish football playing fullback and also running back sometimes. But then, like Team Europe staff, you know, putting me at nose tackle was like, I love D line, but I was not a nose tackle. I was a linebacker, you know.
Yeah.
And they made me realize that, I mean, I was 120 kilos, you know, chasing down a sweep was like I needed oxygen afterwards, and that was kind of a wake up call. Like I need to get in shape for real. And I think it was honestly before I went to Team Europe, we played a youth game against Finland, and I played fullback, and I ran like a 40-yard 40-yard touchdown or whatnot as a fullback. Wasn't we should have ran out the clock, but you know, football knowledge in hindsight, you know, it's always fairly clear. But we won the game. And I remember Jeff Reinbold standing at that end zone, just looking at me, you know, like an elk, you know, trying to get, you know, to the end zone. And I went there and I was gassed. And after the game, he's like, "You got big. How's your conditioning?" And
Yeah.
you know, in that year, and then following that, I was fourth string nose tackle for Team Europe for two camps, and then Shuan Fata moved me to linebacker, back to linebacker again because I dropped some weight during that time. It was kind of a wake up call to really try to get more athletic. And then Robert was there for me then as well because I mean I didn't know anything, I didn't know a lot at all. So fortunately enough, I knew him since I was 13, and he was also the head coach at the time, or I think offensive coordinator or head coach for Stockholm Main Machines, and he helped me with the strength conditioning. So pretty much the shape that I was in when I got to the NFL Europe Combine is a lot of thanks to him and his programming and how he helped me. So it was great. He put me on some, you know, fairly tough schedules, but I loved it, and it paid out because I mean, when I came to the combine, I did okay results, and yeah, it was good times. But I mean, pretty much it was the last year there in Team Europe that I realized that I had to become more athletic. I can't just be big. But I mean, the gym that I worked out at back then, way back when, was like a power lifter gym, and I was kind of, you know, um, flirting with competing in powerlifting as well. And the powerlifters there were like, yeah, the football, American football, and powerlifting go hand in hand. They really don't at all, not even
Yeah.
close.
Well, the part that you need to be strong, yeah?
Well,
That's
yeah,
it. That's about
but
it. Yeah.
I mean, like powerlifting and football. I mean, you can't get more beat up than that when it comes to,
Yeah.
you know, and you're not athletic, really. I mean, so
Not
I
needed.
got back to the right path, and it really helped me. But pretty much, I mean, like when I did the switch from the lower division with Tabby and went to the higher division with Stockholm, which was the best team at the time and also is today. You know, better resistance and also playing against other teams in the Euro Bowl and also the national team, meeting better, you know, better players and having better players around me, good coaches, um, really helped me.
Yeah.
Um, I was also like, which kind of amazes me because I feel like, you know, with Stockholm, I was with them with only 3 seasons as well. Well, it feels longer, but it was only 3 seasons, and then I went to Amsterdam. So it was good
Yeah, I
time.
guess. So in looking back, right? Because there's a couple of young guys that I coach here, or I coach locally here with a club,
Hmm.
and a lot of guys they're thinking about, big and strong, and I told them, like, I have a couple of podcasts that you need to watch, because it's first things first. American football player has to become the best athlete that he can be, and you
Hmm.
you mentioned that the word athlete a couple times already, right? And now an athlete, there's different components, and of course you got to be strong too, right? And you have to have some size, some functional size that goes with your position.
Hmm.
120 kilo linebacker, you don't see many of them. If maybe if you're really tall, right? But even then you don't see those anymore. So becoming the best athlete is the first skill that you need to work on. Yeah, that's
Yeah,
and that's one of these things that nowadays, when they throw the ball a lot more, it becomes even more important, right? And
for
an
sure.
athlete is fast, can change direction, is strong enough to take on, as a linebacker, take on a blocker, but also be able to run in some man coverage and all kinds
Hmm.
of stuff, right? So um but when you look back, you like, did you if you think, like, did you train as well as you could have? Is that sort of any regrets there? You're like, ah, man, like, if I knew. It's always when we look back and when we have more experience that we go like, oh,
Yeah.
I could have done that a little bit better. But
Well, I was honestly like some people, also players that I've played with, and you have coached as well, and they're born athletes. Um, they just have like the mechanics in them somehow. They just know how to do it, and they can get away with not being strong enough or fast enough because they just are. Um, I was not that, so I was not, naturally athletic. So I didn't really need to work for it. But I think like any mistakes that I did, I had time to correct fairly early. But what amazed me kind of when I actually went to the big league, when I had the practice squad deals, I was nowhere near weak. I was strong, and I did not need to get stronger.
yeah,
I needed to get more athletic, and I needed to understand the game more. So really, what like I could have done different is probably uh, trying to focus more on mobility. I did it a lot, but not like enough. I should
mm,
have found focus because I really thought I was always a hard worker, and I really busted my ass in the gym. I did all the sprints, all the things that I had to do. But really, like when you go to the higher level, you need to be more athletic and more mobile. And that's really, really obvious if you look like my first year with the Emeralds, um, and you compare it to other players. I was not as athletic as them. I didn't move like they did. So I need to learn that skill. So like after
mm,
the first
mm,
season in '05, I went back and I watched tape, and I really saw a big difference between how other linebackers moved and how I moved, and I was really stiff. So I worked at the whole off season. That's all I did. I did like 14 or 15 sessions a week, which only 3 was lifting,
yeah,
and the rest was mobility, speed, quickness, and really working on the hips. And then I come back in '06, and that was farly improved. But like when I get to the league, there's still it's another level.
yeah,
So more like if any mistakes, I should have gone the more mobile route earlier, the
yeah,
quickness route earlier, because I
yeah,
was way strong enough.
yeah.
Even when I was 18 and 19, I could have maintained that strength. But I somehow thought that if I ever went to the league with only 3 letters, I needed to be strong like the
The
Incredible
next
Hulk.
level
But
strong as
yeah.
well. Yeah, yeah. Well, that's right. Like, but that's what I think all young athletes sort of in football have that. It's like, well, we need to get bigger and stronger. Like
Hmm.
that's sort of the initial thought that young guys have, and because it's a thing too, right? Where coaches too ask, well, how tall are you? How much do you weigh? All that kind of stuff. How much do you bench? How much do you squat? Like that we do ask, what's your 20, what's your 40, right? That kind of stuff. But just becoming the best athlete you can be is like the first thing you got to do, right? Yeah, no matter
Well,
what the position.
where strength also is an aspect, but it can't be 90%.
Yeah,
I mean, you need to look where your strengths are and how strong you need to be, and uh, and get there. Because don't get me wrong, both you and me know that you need to be strong to play American football at a high level. If you
yeah,
want to stay at a club level in your own town or whatnot, fine. You don't need to lift. You can be a weekend warrior, and that's fine if you want to be that. But that's not what I aspire to do, and a lot of people listening to your podcast probably not aspire to be a weekend warrior. So you
yeah,
need to lift. That has to be very, very important part of your physical preparation, but you need to put as much time and effort into all the other aspects as well. So you
yeah,
need to very good periodization and how you put all the workouts up, and really see like a kind of a balance. Some people are the other way around, like they only have the mobility and agility and they need to get a lot of stronger because they're injury prone and whatnot. So it's always like the truth is always somewhere in the middle, but you need all aspects, and you need to like honestly, if you're not objective enough to make that decision for yourself, you need to get help, and you need to get a coach or somebody that can see you and objectively say like your weaknesses are these, and you can step back on the lifting and you should increase these stuff because these things, because you don't need all that extra fluff. You don't need to spend 2 hours in the gym every day. You can take that down to 3 days a week, and then the rest of the time we're working on you as an athlete.
yeah,
So it's
yeah. I've been told that in rugby, the All Blacks, the New Zealand national team, they talk about how do you have to reach a threshold for strength and speed and all that kind of stuff. And I know like for in the NFL, it's teams have like grades, draft grades, right? You have to have a certain height, weight, speed, change direction, scores, all that kind of stuff. And then they rank you from, or to give you a grade from 1 to 9, for example, right? So if you have all nines, obviously you're a great physical specimen. And then the 6 is a draftable grade. So if you, as a football player, have all your 10, 20, and 40-yard dash is all a 6, 20 shell, three cone, 60, all that kind of stuff. You're all 6s. Then you basically, what they say is a draftable grade. Obviously, if you have to compete with guys who all have 7s, 8s, and 9s, they go like, well, these are generally better athletes and better players. But in rugby, they talk about a threshold where, look, if I need my position, need to bench 20 times 100 kilos, how much better am I going to be at playing my position if I do it 30 times?
mm-hmm.
Right. So that's where you look at similar what you were saying. All right. I have functional strength here. Right. But actually, my change direction can improve a little bit, or my short burst speed, or whatever those things are. And then, like you said, when you say 14 to 17 training sessions a week, but only 3 times it's in the gym working on your strength, then
Mm-hmm.
we're working on something else to get better. And that's a way to look at it. You go like, all right, I have functional scores with all of this, but over here, that's kind of my weakness. I need to work on that. And I thought it was really great when using the word threshold is like, all right,
Yeah.
when you have when you have that score, you're fine at your position.
Mm-hmm.
I really like that idea, like you, because it says something about, look, and especially with the bench, if I bench 20 or 30 times, and 18 is my say like a 6 or a 7, and yes, 30 times is a 9, does that make me a better football player?
Yeah.
Probably not, right? So yeah. And so in career wise, like, did you have like the international program in the NFL? You were 2 years, is that right?
3.
3 years. So
Yeah.
I my mind is Cowboys and Packers.
Yeah, and then Bengals.
On the Bengals. Okay, so that I missed that one then. All right, so 3 years. Then you feel like with all those that time, you made the most out of your football career.
Well, there's always doubts, like could have done it differently, should have been less Swedish. Um, And what I mean by that, if you don't know what a Swedish person is you're fairly humble, and you
Yeah,
don't
yeah,
really take any space, and you're very polite, and you
yeah.
do as you're told, and all that good stuff. So obviously, that's not the American way, and I learned that the hard way the first year and then a year. With the national camp first being, the first week of our camps in Tampa, where they always were held with the NFLE, and then the first time the Americans came in when you're allocated to a team, and I had the luck to be with Amsterdam and with you as a linebacker coach, and the Americans come in. It's just it's a flip of a switch. It's like the competitiveness just is tenfold because the European mentality. I don't know how it is today, but back then at least, I mean, if you're on the same position, you're buddies. Even if you're competing for the same spot or like a national spot or whatever, the feeling was always that it was kind of a brotherhood. That
Sure.
was out the window the second they came because you were not the best buds with your linebacker colleagues. Then when the team is set, that's when the team gets made pretty much, and you make camaraderies and all that good stuff when all that competition is out of the way. But during camp, that's not the thing. You're
Mm.
not buddies with the linebacker that's playing the same position as you. That was a wake up call, and then going to the Cowboys. I mean, that was even. I mean, that's times 1,000. If you compare it to NFL Europe. But obviously, if you're any kind of, what kind of deal I was on, I wasn't really, had that put stress on me. But then again, I mean, I'm not going to be with the Dallas Cowboys and not trying to compete. I mean, seriously, that you're not going to be there just to be there. And I
Mm.
remember my first time there when I, during training camp, and Bill Parcells called me over, and he went like, "Hey," I'm like, "Yes, sir. I know your deal that you're guaranteed to be here, but you're not going to be here if I don't want you to be here.
Yeah,
How
yeah,
about that for breakfast?"
yeah. Well,
And I was so Swedish back then. Also, when I was with the Cowboys, I came in there and it was breakfast time, and Bear Parcells sitting alone at his table, and I'm actually contemplating sitting next to him because I didn't want him to be alone. That's a true story. Luckily enough, I didn't do that, but you know,
yeah.
it's it's the hierarchy and stuff. So mostly I regret, first of all, not really being more uh competitive, I guess, and me being more forward and taking more space. And also
Okay.
another one in hindsight, I regret not having more fun. I was very strict with everything, not very social. Um, so I mean, obviously with Amsterdam, it was a lot easier to be social because it was forced upon you since you lived together and you had really no choice, and it was great. It was awesome. But with an NFL team, that's not the case because obviously we're not staying all at the same hotel where everybody's got their resident, and when the day's done, everybody goes home, and it's like having more fun, making more friends. Not like it would have made my NFL career. I would have been a linebacker in NFL, but at least I would have had more social experience and maybe more friends when everything was said and done.
Mm.
Uh, but yeah, pretty much. It
So
was
when you say that, right? When you say your most social experience, so what happened then? So you're no longer in a training camp environment, um, because now the Cowboys go to California, right? So that's
yeah.
different again. But um, so in game week, so you work and you go home. Then what? What I mean, did you live with other international program players, or was that only
No.
one position per team?
Only one position per team. And then, I mean, back then we also went to Oxnard, California for the training camps.
Oh, you did. Okay.
Yeah. And then we went back for the last week of training camp to Texas, to Dallas. And during training camp and during everything, you meet other first year players. And I made some friends with one of the O-line guys that was also drafted. And, he was like second string or whatnot. So we got an apartment together. that year. So then, you're fairly social and, you go out and do stuff. Uh, but I mean, you're on your own pretty much. I mean, you need to put your own housing up and, get your furniture and all that good stuff, or you can rent it. But that's pretty much the setup. You need to get your apartment or house, but I didn't make the money to buy a house.
Man. Yeah, so then you go home, you go have some dinner, or watch a movie, or hang out with your buddy, or study some film, or how did that feel, that those weeks then?
Well, when you're a regular NFL week, it's still a fairly set schedule. Like, also, you had the hierarchy of when you're supposed to lift, how early that is, and obviously, me being a practice squad player, it was you need to do the morning shift, and I always liked the mornings anyway, so I didn't mind it. But pretty much, you're there from anytime from 6 to 6:30, and you get your lift in. But you wake up, you want to get something in your body, so you have some breakfast at home, and then you go to the facilities, get your workout in, and then you have your second breakfast. Obviously, you need that your second breakfast as a hobbit, whatnot. And then you have meetings the whole morning, and then you have like a early afternoon practice that's about 2 to 3 hours. It depends if you count the pre walkthrough, and then the pre walkthrough, and the pre walkthrough, and the pre walkthrough, and then
Walking through the walkthrough, of course you do.
yeah.
Yeah.
And then also, on the parcels, the walkthrough was not a walkthrough; it was full contact, anyways.
Yeah.
And then you had the practice, so you may be on the field for 4 hours, depending on whatnot. And I mean, that's all changed now. We need to remember, we talked before, that it was a lifetime ago. This was in 06, and we actually had real 2 days back then in the NFL. Now they can't have that. And we actually did, during training camp, we did 2 days. Then the next day was 1 day, and then 2 days, and then 2-1, 2-1, 2-1. But the 1 day practice was actually harder because the day was tougher, because then you had meetings all in the morning, so your brain was all packed, and then you had a 3-hour practice, and then you had meetings until late night. And then the 2 days, when you had them, you had an early practice, and then some meetings and during lunch, and then you had a late practice, and then it was bedtime. So it was actually easier on the mind, harder on the body. But a regular week would be like, you come in on Monday, obviously you watch the film, and then Wednesday is the big work day, and Tuesday is your day off.
Tuesday off. Yeah.
Pretty much Monday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday are all booked. I mean, they're from morning to late afternoon, and you come home maybe at like 5 or 6 o'clock, and you grab some dinner, and then if you have some film you have to watch, or your coach has asked you to, because you're on the scout team, obviously, for the defense, catering to the offense. So if the offensive coach comes to you, or the defensive coach gives you a DVD, like it was back then, to watch the tape and try to mimic and see how, like, some linebacker plays this cover 2, or plays this quarters coverage, or how he leverages the man coverage, or if he has a special step, or how he leverages that stuff. Or if you scout tight end, and the tight end plays a certain way, and the fullback plays a certain way when he motions, and he had some gives, and you need to mimic that, and good stuff. So if you get that tape as a practical player, you better do that, and then give
Play
that
your
look
role.
the next day, play your role. And that was obviously extra, that's what you needed to do to stay with the team if you're on a regular practice squad. But then that was, obviously something I wanted to be. I wanted to, when the year was over, I wanted to sign with the Dallas Cowboys. So that was obviously my goal. But I mean, it's not a lot of free time, to be honest. The days off are usually spent, you go to the training room, even if you're not injured, because you need to get treatment for something, because you're hurting, or something is wrong, or you just need a little tune-up, or a little manual therapy, or you need to get in the cold tub and the hot tub and all that good stuff. And you need to get a lift in, obviously, because that's what you do on Tuesdays. You lift. And I didn't have a family back then, obviously. I was just me, so I was only focusing on football. And the only thing I actually spent real money on was a really good bed, so so I could get my good night of sleep. But it's pretty much, I mean, during the season is not many minutes off. It's full go, and it's a full-time job, even more than a full-time. And it's on paper, it's 1 day off, and it's all, if it's a regular week, it's a Tuesday. So it's
So yeah, look, is that does that come naturally, or is that a sacrifice which you have to the effort and the time you have to put in?
Well, the extra time is, I think that's an effort, obviously, for any player. Not every player does that, and you're fully aware of that. Like the extra time that you put in after hours, or when the coach isn't with you, or when you're not with your team, that's always extra. Not everybody does that, but usually at that level, everybody does it. But it becomes a lifestyle, and I feel that NFL Europe really geared me and prepared me for that type of life or whatnot, because it was very scheduled also in F Europe, because it was so condensed, and you need to be where you had to be. You need to, had a schedule every day. um, and I liked it. I mean, that was a big wake up call when I stopped playing. I'm like, nobody's gonna hand me a schedule. I'm free to do whatever I want. And that was tough, man. Like, I mean, that's not a huge word problem for anybody else, but for somebody else been making their schedule and telling them what to do all day, every day. You feel kind of lost when you're done. But
Mhm.
it's for me, after I like structure and I like schedule, and for me it was an effort to just follow the schedule, and it was fairly easy. But then the effort, I mean, that's where you got to put it down yourself. I mean, everybody can follow the schedule, but what kind of effort you put into it is a whole different deal.
Yeah, yeah. Look, it's one of those things. I never played anywhere near that level that you played at, but I coached it, right? So, and I feel um sometimes the word sacrifice comes to mind. Is like you got to sacrifice to the hours that you put in. Do you want to get to that spot? And sometimes it's just like, yeah, but that's just what I do. That's what I want to
Yeah.
do, right? So, and then you go like, well, you can call it work, or you can just call it, it's my life, right? And
Mhm.
it's um but at some point, no matter what it is that you want to do in life, you're gonna, if you want to succeed at it, you actually got to have to put in a little bit more than the average person does. And
Mhm.
then you look back and you're like, did I had fun enough? Did I take care of my financial situation? How was my schooling? All that kind of stuff you
Mhm.
can look back at. You gotta kind of have to do everything a little bit, but um, you have to give up other things to put in enough time to reach your goal. Now,
Yeah, that's the truth, man. Like, I always like kind of think it's funny sometimes people say, like, athletes sacrifice things, but as you say, and in line with what you're saying, it's like it's still their choice, and that's their trade or whatnot. But it is some kind of it's more of an effort, and it's more of a lifestyle, because not everybody can do it. And it is a physical toll, like any kind of professional sport. I mean, it's not healthcare really. You do extreme things on a daily, and you need to do it over and over and over again, and there's no stop to it really. Um, I mean, people call it the grind, but you need to do it. And you need to be prepared, because if you're not prepared physically or mentally, usually, I mean, physically you get injured, and mentally you don't make the team. So
mhm,
it's uh, it's more of an effort thing. You need to do it over and over again, and you need to be consistent. So I don't know. There should be a better word for it. I mean, sacrifice. I mean, sure. I mean, I'm on paper uneducated. I didn't go to college. So, I mean, a lot of my peers back here, and friends, and they had other careers during the whole time I did football, and they're another place in life, and good stuff. But I don't regret anything I did, because I mean, this is an education in itself. All the social interactions and all the things that I learned along the way, that you can kind of apply to life, and just kind of try to give to your kids the whole effort thing. Like, just get shit done, man. That's
yeah,
pretty much it. It doesn't matter
yeah,
what kind of education you have. If you get shit done, people gonna appreciate you anyway. So, but
mm,
you just need to. It's hard to get in the door, but
yeah,
I'm not in any
yeah, yeah.
way against education. But for a while there, I thought it was kind of tough. Not having a college background, and not doing the whole education thing, but. Uh,
Yeah.
today, no, I'm fine.
You good? Yeah.
I'm good.
No, like it's like when at some point, you were younger, it's like you had this goal, right? How did people around you react to that? Like, family or friends, or because when you're talking about, hard work, is that you do hard work when they have a party or go to the movies, or family gatherings, and then you go like, oh yeah, I gotta, like you said, I got shit to do, right? I got places to go. I don't have time for this.
Mm.
How did people respond to that when that situation?
Well, fairly early, I stopped drinking. And that was a lot of people reacted to that, like, you telling me the athletes that are the best still drink and all that good stuff. But um, I don't really care.
Mm,
I was trying to have fun anyways, but you do some stuff and you don't really participate as others. I mean, I have some friends that still tell me today that think it's hilarious that I bought Tupperware to a barbecue, and
yeah,
had my own little
I'm not
meal
eating that
prepared.
stuff.
Yeah, and
Yeah.
just always saying no thank you to dessert and all that stuff, and just saying you can have one piece. And I mean, it's all small things, but I mean, and then when everybody's already eaten, and it's been 3 hours, and you take out your second Tupperware, and people are like, what are you eating again? What are you doing? We just
Yeah.
ate. uh
Yeah.
and so
Nice. Yeah.
I
They.
was, yeah, I mean, I was surrounded by people that fairly supported what I did. I mean, not so much. I mean, family sure they supported me, but I don't really think they realized what I was trying to do. Uh, but otherwise, football wise, some good people around me that um, was they thought my path was seemed good. And I mean, in general, I don't think I had any bad, like, influence of people around me trying to get me to do things I didn't want to do.
Mm,
I was very focused, and I mean, I had some people asking me, like, I remember a lot of people actually said, "Why you work so hard?" I mean, if I got to go, I got to work hard. I mean, if it's 14 sessions a week, it's 14 sessions a week. I mean, it doesn't really matter.
mm. Yeah. That's, yeah, I understand that, because like people and a lot of times they don't have those goals or similar goals than what is needed to do all these things, and they don't understand. And
No.
then but look, you find a way, and whatever, sometimes you lose friends on the way. Did that happen? Like, you like, if you can't be, did it, if I can't see you, like when I want to or something, then it just fades. Did that happen to you?
I mean, a lot. I think uh, so. Growing up, I think you have a lot of friends along the way that kind of episodes in life, and if you don't have lives that kind of align, you
Mm,
don't but that pertains to family as well. I mean, like, if you, even though your family, it doesn't, I mean, if you don't have, doesn't even have to be about goals. Like, it just has to
sure.
be a way of life and how you are and how you think, and all that stuff. And I think a lot. I mean, I I don't believe that. I mean, a professional kind of football life, or whatever kind of career you choose. If you choose to be, whatever that, you work internationally and all that stuff, you lose friends as well, even though you're not an athlete. I just think it's a walk of life, and I do try to keep every friend you ever met during your whole life, and
Mm.
that's too many friends for me, man. I'm an introvert, and I like a close circle, and I don't. It's too many people, man.
Can't deal with those numbers.
No, it's too much. And the thing is, I never forget a face also. So I always try to place people, and
Yeah.
if I already know them, and
Mm,
their interests and stuff. I'm just being honest. I like
yeah.
a tight circle, and
Uh,
yeah.
hey, so you mentioned this earlier when you said um, the wisdom you're trying to impart on your kids. Now, you have two boys, correct?
Yeah, for sure.
And what are their names?
It's Nino and Remy.
So that's a Swedish pronunciation. Ninu.
It's actually, I mean, me and my wife, there were no, like, logic in choosing names. No, nothing, nada is like, no. Nothing. There's no logic in it. So
All right.
we just went by feel, and we had a bunch of names planned for the first kid. He's turning 12 now.
12 already. All right.
Yeah, and then I mean, we just felt right, and I think it's Italian or Spanish or whatnot.
Nino.
Nino is my older son, and
Okay, Nino.
Remy is my second one. Is Remy.
Yeah, Remy. Okay.
There's
Yes.
not typical
Nino
Swedish
Remy.
or whatnot. It's just
Yeah, yeah.
it's
Okay.
just names.
Yeah. So 12 and the other one is just born, like not even 1 year old.
Yeah, he's 6 months, man.
Six
So
months. There you
we
go.
thought that spacing it out 12 years would be smart. Good move.
Now, I think you did a really good job trying to pretend, you didn't hear Remy in the background there for a minute.
Yeah,
I was,
I'm trained.
I was gonna say, like, do you guys feed your kids or?
No, we do. We have them fasted. They do the 16-8.
Yeah. Hey, so, but going back on this kids thing is like, so what have you learned through football that you apply in your regular day life now, or that wisdom that you impart to Nino?
Well, first of all, I have to say I try because being a parent ain't easy. But
The only thing we can do,
um,
man.
yeah, so I try to teach the hard work. Like it doesn't really matter like what the outcome is sometimes if you
The
put your
effort.
effort down and you really try, and then you can somehow be proud of what you did even though you fail because you gave it your all. And I mean, and that pertains to everything. You can apply that to all walks, all things in life, really. As a if you don't even try, I mean, you can't be pissed that you didn't make it because I mean, you didn't even try. You didn't even. And sometimes it's hard to being a parent. I mean, to a teammate is really easy to be hard, and it's really easy to for another way to just spit out words, and they don't take offense. You don't have to take care or you know think about if that's a future trauma for them. But your kids, that's a whole different ball game. So you need to be
Uh,
try to deliver that in more humble and way, and it's tough being the background that I have, and the American football way also, like with American type coaches, and how I'm not swearing at my son, but sometimes I'm a bit too harsh, but I really try to teach him that the hard work way, like you need to put the effort down. I'm not saying that he needs to bleed every day, but like you put an effort down, and if you put all your effort down into it, I understand you're disappointed, but you can at least be proud of the effort you put down. And if you keep doing that, good things are going to come. Because if you just give up, I mean, then you just give up. So that's one of the things. But also trying to be humble in your be nice to everybody. Because I mean, along the way, along the football path, you meet some people that are just assholes straight up, and sometimes those assholes or those individuals, they're gonna fall, and they're gonna meet the people that they were stepped on the way up. So even whatever walk of life you choose, you just need to be humble and be nice with the people around you, because I mean, you never know when you're going to meet them in a bad situation, and also how you feel about yourself when you put your head on the pillow at the end of the day. Because everybody, no matter who you are, when you put that head on the pillow at the end of the day, and you reflect on the day you had, you're gonna remember the people you behaved badly to. I mean, you just do, and you know it in your gut. So just try to be a good person, and whoever you meet, just don't be an asshole.
it's interesting. That what you said. It sounds like how you talked about Swedish people before. You just want your kids to be Swedish,
Well, yeah.
basically.
Yeah.
Now, um, you triggered this with your don't be an asshole thing, right? I had an experience in my it was my first year with the Admirals, and so I was coaching running backs at the time, and we had a bad experience with a player, and then from then onwards, I in the draft meetings, before you draft the players, um, I would always ask everybody that I was recruiting or evaluating, basically, like, "Hey, you're not an asshole, are you?" and was and like that would not be really a typically a question, an American coach would ask over the phone, right? But there was this like, and then they would hear me like there was this silence for a couple seconds, and they're like, and then I filled that up. I said, like, listen, you can be, you just have to stop doing that when you actually come to camp, and when
Mhm.
you fly back home, you can be an asshole again. But we cannot have an asshole on a team. And I think that's a rule I still have. Just
Mhm.
whatever it is that you do, like just don't be an asshole, man. It's
Mhm.
a good rule to have, don't you think?
I think, man, it solves a lot of problems before they even become problems.
Yeah. Yeah. And look, if you, I don't think you. All right. So now here's a good question. So what's the Swedish word for asshole?
Well, there's
Is
not
there?
really a great translation to it when
Yeah.
sometimes words just don't really flow right. You would say
'Cause-
like an idiot, idiot.
Yeah. That does no. That's not a good, because I can make that word out. That's being an idiot, right? So
Yeah.
an asshole is somebody who is an idiot, but it also has some um more negative, personality mixed in with it.
Yeah.
How you would describe that in Swedish?
I mean, asshole is just fine, I guess. I mean, I can go with asshole.
Like, everybody understands.
Yeah.
Yeah, a good one. Yeah. So and so based on those lessons in football, like, the hard work, you said, like, that's something that you learned through football. And
Mhm.
anything else that you like, you said earlier, how do you put that? Um some like, not the social aspect of,
Mhm.
football. How was that relationships? Was that kind of how you meant that, like, the relationships you have because you work so close together, how that carries over into life, or what other things that you
Well, yeah, I try to do that today more than, I mean, like the 23 or 24-year-old, 25, whatever, up to 30-year-old football player. I mean, what I was fairly social, but I mean, I try to, be more social today, like when I have my close circle, whatnot. But the more like thing I think that I would appreciate it when I was active was like giving more of myself. I was fairly anonymous, especially when I came to was with three NFL teams. Um, it's just like try to give more of yourself, and,
mm,
be more active in conversations. I don't know. I had this one guy with the Cowboys. It was later in the season. Was standing at a walkthrough on a Friday, and he stands by me. It was this old veteran nose tackle, and he's like, "You racist?" I was like, "Sorry, come again?" He's like, "Yeah, you don't talk to anybody. He's just
oh, okay.
quiet." I was no, and I explained everything, and we had this huge, really giving conversation. And he was like, "Oh, I see, man. Oh, that's great. I didn't even know you were Swedish. Oh, well, that's like in Europe. Oh, nice." And then we became really good friends. But he just and it's kind of interesting just knowing, like, I mean, obviously the U.S. is very different. I mean, me being obviously very white, and I was going by CJ back then, so I wasn't really introduced as my full name. And I mean, being white in America, and I mean the segregation, racism is a lot more prominent there than it is over here, or at least especially back then as well. So, I mean, probably fairly accurate like assumption if I don't interact with anybody. But
Yeah, yeah.
we became good friends, man. Like, but it was kind of funny, just like, oh, does that. It's just kind of a wake up call, like, oh, I need to be talk to people.
Yeah, yeah. Well, yeah, you could say, well, did he talk to you? Really? Did he? Right? You know what I mean? Like, like, you so the Cowboys, right? So, one cowboy we know reasonably well together, right? Aiden Dirty. I was like I said, like I was a really proud moment when I found out he was coaching in the NFL. I didn't
Mhm.
even know he was with the Falcons, right? And then he's with the Cowboys. Like, oh my god!
Mm.
And that was something like I got. Well, look at this guy, man. He came
Mhm.
a long way, and playing and coaching now in the NFL is. Did you ever think about coaching?
Ever think about coaching NFL? Yeah, for sure.
What?
I go next
All the
week.
time.
Yeah, we got a job offer waiting.
I
Funny you ask.
didn't mention coaching in the NFL, but
No,
yeah.
man. Just to mention that with Adam, awesome person, man. Like I remember my first international camp down in a bunch of snow and all that good stuff somewhere in Germany at least.
Alone.
One of those turf field. I mean, I think you talked to that with
Tom Sula.
Tom Sula, yeah. And shuffling the field and taking the dummies and all
It's
that good stuff, the
crazy.
step over dummies. That's what the thing is. That's what I also like with European football players is they usually been through a lot of shit when it comes to fields and possibilities. So that wasn't like a big obstacle for us who were
Mm,
there. They were like, yeah, sure, we'll do the field. We're fine. Because that usually probably a lot of guys has been in that situation before.
yeah.
But during that camp, I remember, I mean, Adam being one of the, he had been, I mean, with the Claymores, and then it was the Hamburg. He was with Hamburg then, and he'd been a couple of years already, and he was one of those guys that were really welcoming and really came in with a lot of great coaching cues. And there I am. I mean, like I'm a new guy. Like, I mean, I wasn't in any danger, like saying in hindsight, in taking his job at all. But it could have been. I mean, and he was being a really nice person
Pushed out.
and
Yeah.
not being an asshole, as we just talked about, and came with some really nice pointers and coached me up like first camp. And I still to this day really appreciate that, and I really like him as a person. And he became a good friend during those years. And I mean, just kind of touching upon that. I mean, um, and if for Europe, how it's built up and how some of the coaches talked, like, because we were named nationals. Any non-American player were named nationals, and
Yeah.
I mean, I think it disappeared. But you could enlighten me. But my first year, there was like this European Union kind of flag that they would show in the end zone when you had to have a
Mm,
international player on the field on both sides. It was a down marker which they converted and had a little European stars on it.
yeah.
I think they
Uh,
took that off. I think they stopped with that.
I remember that there was something like that. I don't know for how long
No.
or no, but it's the rules change over the years, right?
Yeah.
It was like what was the last year? It was like an international player on the field, any particular play, right?
Yeah.
So that's why I think they changed it because it was the year before was every other drive, I think.
Yeah.
So then
Exactly.
it was like, yes, no, yes, no. And then if you have to have one, you don't have to have a sign anymore, right? So
Exactly.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
But
So
I have this was international camp in Tampa, the Doubletree Hotel.
yeah.
And, I walked with Eden. I think it was to the mall or something. We were working together and just having a chat. And I remember he's like, I'm gonna make it to the NFL. I
Mm.
mean, he literally told me, right, I'm going to make it to the NFL. And maybe that's particular, him making it to the NFL. That's why I feel very proud of our program in the day, that what we accomplished with, not just with the players, but then becoming coaches and all, even some of those guys, Jim
Mm.
Tomsula, right?
Mhm.
NFL head coach, all these kind of
Yeah.
things. And when that happens to, a European who does that, yeah, it makes me feel very good about what we did back then, so
Yeah.
that was really good. Um, yeah, the looking back, because obviously, talking to you today, start thinking back today, but the good times we had.
Mm.
There's going to be some bad times, like we talked about 2006 champion World Bowl,
Yeah.
but we had some good times there together. Yeah. It does shock me that you only played for Amsterdam for 3 years. That was like, really? That's so weird. Yeah, yeah. So, but never thought about coaching.
Well, I have, and I have done some guest coaching. I never really um, got committed and like signing with a team and being a full time coach. But every time I do it, I thoroughly enjoy it. But there's a reason why I don't do it though, and that is that I want anything that comes to football, and especially if I promise other people something, I want to do it 100%.
Yeah, yeah,
There are ways that has been presented to me that's like you can do it halftime. We'll make it work, and you can come like one night a week, and but that's just not me. And I would like to give everything of me if I coach, and if the guys that actually take their spare time. I mean, it's still amateur football, right?
mm,
So they're taking, nights, weeks off from their family or friends or whatnot. It's feel in Sweden is still like imagine it's the thing, same thing in Australia. You take a lot of spare time. It's not like you can do it. You're not professional. You're not getting paid. And if I coach those guys, I come from that, and I would like a coach to be there the whole time, every time, and be accountable. And
mm,
the guys that come to practice, I want them to give my all and really try to teach them something. And I can't give that right now, and I haven't been able to have that time. Uh, but also when I was finished with football, I was really I was fed up, and I was it's not that I didn't love the game. I just didn't like how I was around the game at the time because I was really bitter. Because when I finally left the States, I played one season with the Kiel Baltic Hurricanes, which was a great experience. I did it together with Christian Moore, and we had a great time. Uh, he's an awesome dude as well. And also, like, Old National's doing well. I mean, he's doing really well down there, and with his gym and all that good stuff. And he's just a great person. And I mean, anytime I see a guy, a national or non-national, like from the old NFL Europe days, doing well, I get really happy because
yeah,
it's a whole different. It's just the camaraderie and the people you get close to. Also, like players you play with that are maybe coaches now in the NFL or whatnot. It has a special place in my heart.
yep,
But having said that, you know, me doing that with Christian Moore, it was a GFL and we had a lot of spare time and we talked a lot to each other, helped each other with through some, mental issues as it pertains to identifying yourself as a football player and all that stuff. And I realized that I was fairly bitter because my goal was to make it to NFL team and not, make it in the form of being on a practice squad. I wanted to make it for real. And I was not in a good place mentally, like when it came to like objectively seeing my whatever I did or whatever I not did not do, but I didn't like who I was around football back then. So I need to take a step back. And every time I get involved with football, that's not like broadcast wise, I really like it. But I don't think I'm really that ready yet to just, fully immerse myself in being a coach. Because to me, a coach is, you know, uh, they need to put down more time than the players. And I want to give that to the players that I eventually coach. Because any coach that I've been with that I, developed under or got help from, they put down a lot of damn time to help me. And I don't want to do anything less.
yeah.
Uh, I don't want to, just come whenever I have time, maybe once every third week, and, come down and give some pointers and, then disappear for 3 weeks.
Yeah. Yeah, you
That's
just want to do it the right way.
Yeah, for
Yeah.
sure. And it's fun though. Every time I actually do, and I do like a guest practice or whatnot, I love it. It's amazing. And also, I mean, you as a coach, you've done this a million times, but when you actually see, the when the light bulb goes up in the player, and they really get what
Yeah.
you're
Ooh.
saying, and they actually do it after all that, hard work and feedback, and you're trying to show them in different ways, and you try to tell them in different ways, and they finally do it, and they see the benefit of it and how like empowering that is, and you see that
Nice.
in a game later on. Wow, man, that's awesome. That's great.
Right. Yeah. That's yeah. It's interesting you say that because those moments I can generally say that those moments are for me are better than winning a game or winning a championship. That feeling anyway
Mhm.
is that 'cause like you said, you put all that energy in and they don't get it, they get it, and then all of a sudden you see that happen on the field like that. You go,
Yeah,
oh my god! It's just it's like the conductor in symphony and
yeah.
that goes perfect or whatever that is, right? It's just like that's really I haven't thought of that for a long time. Thank you for sharing that because that's something that's really good as a coach. Yes,
Mhm.
when it just comes together, when you taught it and they start doing it and executing it, you go like, oh my god, how good is this?
Yeah,
Yeah, that's really good. Yeah.
it's awesome.
You just brought up broadcasting. So is that your only sort of involvement with football? So
It is.
tell me how that works because like I don't have the luxury of seeing you in action. Are you the play by play or the color commentary or the guy in the studio? How does that work in Sweden?
I actually, after a bunch of years, I've done it now for 13 seasons, which is again weird.
Wow.
That's It's been that long. But when I actually moved back to Sweden, way back in, I think it was 2009, and then in the end of '09, uh, the Swedish broadcast had done like a studio thing, and they stopped it the year before. And then a friend of mine who I did army duty with mentioned to one of the sports guys, or sports, what do you call that, head sports,
Head of
whatever.
sports. Yeah.
Yeah, that I was home, and they called me, and I was like, yeah, sure, let's do it. And we jumped in the middle of the season. I think it was the NFL season of '09, I think, or it was 2010. I can't. The Packers won the Super Bowl at least, and I think that was February 2010. I believe that was. Uh, and then I was just like back then we just did studio, and we did American announcing. So then it kind of developed after years and years that we started commentating in Swedish, which was in the beginning very frowned upon. We were getting some negative feedback. But then, I mean, we've been doing it so many years now that's um, it's we do it all now, and I've been in every role. Any role I haven't done is actually the studio host, which hopefully I don't do because I think it seems hard as hell to be the studio host. But play by play and expert, and also expert in the studio. So I do all those threes, and I rotate through all those three roles.
Nice. Nice. So when you talk about preparation as a coach and all that kind of stuff, what
Mhm.
what type of preparation goes into because you do one game a week?
One or two depends. We do our focus. We focus solely on the Sunday games, and we put a lot the most effort into the. I mean, here in Sweden, they are broadcasted at 1900 hours, 7 o'clock in the evening, and also like 10:25 or 10:30 in the evening.
Yeah.
So we focus on those two games primarily.
So you do them
Uh,
back to back?
yeah.
Okay.
So if we do commentating, we only do one of those in Swedish, and the other one we just have the American announcers. But we have a Swedish studio on both.
Okay.
So then you prepare for both of them.
All right. And so what's involved in preparation? Because you gotta know the stats of the players, background. How does that?
Yeah.
Because I've done amateur commentating of a
Mhm.
game, right? Which is it's hard. It's hard work. You like I want to do that and know, when I see somebody catching a ball, I know who it is. I know him by
Mhm.
name, that kind of stuff. And in the NFL, you got to do that also the right way, right? So you got to
Mhm.
have some information of these on these guys.
Mhm.
Um, yeah, I'm just curious, how much time do you put in?
It's a couple of hours every week, depending on how well I know every team. And also, like in the beginning, when we only did studio work, to be honest, and I was so fresh from the league, those 3 years, I knew since I've been watching so much tape
Yeah.
every day, I know everybody and I know all the coaches and I know how they play their defense. So I would do that job without preparing in
Yeah.
the
Yeah.
beginning. Like the season 2010, 2011, like no coaches moved. Like I knew all the players, all the numbers, because just being fed with that like
Sure.
every second of my waking hours, it wasn't really a lot of preparation. I could just talk football, and that was my role was strictly expert, and I didn't really have to do that much preparation because I already knew like if it was Seattle, I knew their defense and how they played it. I know every number, and I know their offense and how they played it, and how they ran their inside zone and outside zone, and how the footwork was with that running back. So I did since I've seen it so many times, it
Mm.
didn't matter. And then also if we had any like in the beginning, if we had any of the divisions that I actually played in, like NFC North or NFC East or the AFC North, any of those like 12 teams, I mean, that would be the easiest thing because I've been watching
Yeah.
those twice a year, like in like the craziest detail ever, like talking about the O lineman's footwork and the D lineman's placement, so I already knew everything. Now is more work because now I don't have it all fresh. Like
Sure.
now I put some more effort into it, obviously, and the most important thing is knowing the numbers and knowing the players, and but then again, it's I mean you and I, especially you with your football knowledge and my acquired football knowledge during the years. I mean, um, I is the biggest challenge is not to overcomplicate things, and also like a lot of our viewers, maybe our job is more to kind of charm them into liking the game of football
Mm.
uh, than talking X's and O's.
Gotcha.
Because I mean, like the critique we got when I started commenting in Swedish are all the people that's gonna watch football anyway. Um, that's been watching NFL for ages and already know everything what a first down is, what a yard is, what a touch, all those things.
Yeah.
So our main objective is to educate. So which sometimes could be hard, especially in the beginning, but now it's easier because now you have more of that mindset. But obviously we prepare, but it's like maybe a couple of hours a week. Obviously we know fairly early because we get on the international feed we get to choose from like 2 or 3 games,
Right.
and then we have a little weekly meeting, the production team with the producers and everything, and which game we should choose. And then as soon as you know that fairly early in the week, you just you take a evening or a night or whatever when the family's sleeping, and you
Dive
read up
in.
on everything, and check up on the injuries and all. I mean, all that is all that good stuff. But also, you need to you kind of look at the like little interesting tidbits, like that are football wise. You need to mention them, and we talk about them in the studio. Classic media stuff.
Mm.
So we can't unfortunately go all like football nerd on the viewers because they're going to fall asleep. So it's it's obviously being in the studio is for me less preparation than it is commentating, or especially being play by play, because play by play you need to be on your A game
Yeah.
since it's live commentating as it's happened. So that's more hours a week than it would be if I know I'm the studio host.
Mm. Do you, like you said, do you get to pick which game? Do you get input on which game you should broadcast?
No. Well, we go pretty much week to week. So we talked about that with the producers. And I mean, in the beginning, when we started broadcasting way back when, since I'm apparently some kind of a veteran now, uh, the people that the producers and all those good people that do all the important work behind the camera and that makes us look good, they didn't know football, so they always asked us. But now we have producers that are football, like football and been watching football for years. So they already come with suggestions that should we take these two
Mm.
teams because of the history, and that was unheard of in the beginning.
Yeah, yeah.
Then the guys working with NFL and the studio people like being in front of the camera would tell them which games we should show and all that stuff. But now we're we're spoiled with actually having people that know football, which
What's
is a
going on?
great, which is awesome,
Mm,
because
mm.
I mean it takes our broadcast better, and it makes better television, and also more of an interesting product for people to watch. So it's good times.
Yeah, I would love to be involved in some football here, commentary wise, not necessarily commentary, but I would love to educate the people who love the game
Hmm.
on how to watch the game,
Yeah.
how what is it that we're looking for, that you get a clue what's going on, and
Hmm.
the whole situational football thing. It's everybody can read a stat, right? Because nowadays I have not looked at one what is that fantasy football thing. I've never played a Madden football game, or I don't do fantasy football. I mean, you hear all these guys, they know everything about the game and stats wise, but look, do you know the game, how to watch it? And I think that's where that education that can help people really enjoy the game more. I've
Yeah.
done a couple of those things with the Admirals, where with the fan club, where you give them a couple of points and go like, they come during the season, come to me, oh, I saw this and happen, like really excited, because like
Yeah.
they really like watching the game, but not always know 100% what they actually like about it, or what they actually see on the field. And if you get a few of these things as a starting point, you can enjoy it even more. So
Yeah.
talking about creating a good product
Hmm.
is that coaching the fans. I guess that's kind of sort of what I would love to see here.
Yeah, you explain it a lot more eloquently than I try to do, but that's pretty much what we're trying to do, like really trying to educate and explain what they should look at. And
Yeah,
I met a bunch of people, especially the last couple of years. You just meet random people on the street, and they're like, "Hey, you explained this thing, and I don't understand." And before, I just thought it was a bunch of meatheads running into each other and being in a pile. And now I
yeah,
actually see the schematics and the whole and
yeah,
it's fun. It's going to be interesting also to see. I mean, I don't know if you watch Netflix at all, but obviously they go with the quarterback first. But I mean, what that kind of show did for Formula One, it's been interesting what it will happen here in Sweden and also Europe, like when it comes to spectator and like fans being more interested. Because I mean, Hard Knocks is obviously really good, but I mean, this way in the format they made it so far, I think it makes the sport more interesting.
yeah. Look, sometimes I watch a game and I just really just try to turn everything off.
Yeah.
Just look at it and just really, look at it the way my dog watches it. Like, this thing's moving on the screen. No deeper thoughts with it. But sometimes, I just go like, really just trying to, I guess it's kind of like working on my game day skills, right? Understanding situations and stuff like that, and trying to see it really fast. But sometimes I'm just trying to just watch it, and but if I had to choose, then I would go on with trying to get the deeper meaning of what's happening on the field. And I really believe that if you have um segments in your programming where you do that, where you teach that, I think you doing the fans a great service.
Yeah, I
Do you,
totally agree.
like, is that something you guys do? Like, you have these magic TV screens or stuff like that where you can draw and stuff. Do you guys have that?
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
We
So that
especially the last couple of years, when we when we get a little bit more attention, like obviously like soccer, hockey, and all kinds of sports are more like prioritized more. But last couple of years, we've been getting some perks and also getting access to all these good, nice little technologies, which has made our ability to explain a lot better. And we
yeah.
do that, like we usually have a pre-studio, like half an hour or an hour before the game actually starts. And then we have these kind of pointers that you can actually mention, like if there's a team that does a certain thing, like I saw example, say you're watching like why does Tennessee Titans play action pass work so well, and then you have first talk about Derrick Henry and you show the blocks and all that good stuff and what is a play action pass and we draw on them and
Yeah.
explain why, other receivers, all that good stuff, exactly what you're saying. So which is also really fun to be able to explain that way, because I mean football is so, I mean, you can really go down deep on the X's and O's, but if you have the ability to have a draw and show what people actually look at and what a team did a certain thing and how that worked, like in the third quarter, but didn't work in the first quarter, and why they did it in the first quarter, never went back to it, but then they did it in the third quarter because all that stuff. It's fun, and it's actually a thing that we're able to do now since I think 2 years passed.
Yeah, that's really good. That's awesome, man. Look, in trying to wrap this up, CJ, you said you went by CJ back then. Is that no longer the case?
Listen, the first time, Daryl Sims,
Yeah.
he but
Oh.
he butchered my name so bad.
Oh. We are frozen.
We back?
Yes, we are. You were
Technical
frozen
issues.
there for you were
Yeah.
frozen there for a second.
I got the two wheels rolling, so I was like,
All
oh,
right. You
well,
said
so yeah,
Daryl
my name.
Sims butchered your name so bad. That's the last
This
bit.
is my take on it, okay? Because
Okay.
then one practice at the hotel in Tampa, when we stayed in St. Petersburg, I think uh, it was like kind of announced that like, hey, you said my name, and then you said we're just gonna call you CJ from now on. Is that okay with you? I was like, yeah, that's
All right.
fine. Because he
Okay.
was like Carl Johan Bjork, Bjork. He was like, he was taking out the chainsaw and just massacring that my poor name. So that from then on,
Oh,
it was CJ.
all
Uh,
right.
so that kind of became my football name from the first year with the Admirals, and you were
Hmm.
part of it. So, and then I went by CJ the whole time, and then kind of stuck with it um, when I came back, because I was usually the lone Swede wherever I went, so I just said CJ everywhere. And then when I got home, it's kind of awkward actually, because the first time I introduced myself, I said CJ in English to another Swedish person, which was kind of weird. But yeah, we kind of had a little laugh about that, and
Yeah.
then. We do this like at my job. They say that the Swedish version, which is CIG. Um,
Ooh,
mm.
yeah.
So,
Okay.
and if I want to be very, very formal, I just say my complete name. That's very important phone calls. You
Mm,
give your full
mm.
name and being very serious. And
And yeah, yeah. And if you mess up, with your wife, she calls you Carl Johan.
no, that's no, no, no.
There's another name.
That's another name. I don't
That's
know what
that
reading this
word.
is,
That's
but
the word we couldn't find earlier.
yeah, exactly.
I'm.
That's that word. No, that will be only my mother actually.
Oh,
From
that
childhood.
would have been my next guess. Yeah.
Yeah.
Hey.
My wife, she uses other words when we're not, in line.
Yeah.
When we're not
I already
divided.
send this. Picture to you. A memory that came up today on Facebook. Right?
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Isn't that amazing?
That's
Like
amazing.
that came up today. Like, is the universe trying to tell us something?
It's trying to tell me that I still can't grow a beard worth of shit. And no, that was great. That was actually the '06 season, right? We were as a great team, a great group of linebackers. Also, I really
Mm,
that was might have been my, except us losing in the World Bowl, that might have been my favorite year in with Amsterdam, because just the camaraderie and like the coaching staff and all the players and how everybody bought in. And It was really good. It's also like one of the proud moments of my, I when I reflected, I got your email before this, and I thought about a lot of things, and uh, I remember that year I was actually voted to become T captain, and like as I mentioned before, like the nationals were kind of quoted in the beginning, and in '05 I wasn't supposed to be the national starter in '05. Rikia Ishida was supposed to be the national starter, but then he tore his knee in camp, and then you moved me up, and I knew back then I kind of heard the talk, and then also the nationals in between. Like you probably know the whole truth, but I understood it as like you guys maybe tried to move some other national to Amsterdam, so you had a good national starter, but then actually becoming the regular starter my second year was big for me, and it was a lot of thanks to you and like your coaching from the first year, and also the whole training camp of the '06 season. It was a good season, and it's a great memory because I think that was some kind of pre-season party when we actually came to Amsterdam, right?
This was in a club somewhere. I remember something. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
So I'm looking at this. I'm seeing it was Jeremy, Ricky, Nick, um, Derek, you, um, oh
Need some help there, buddy? It's Quasi.
yeah, Aquazi, and 45. Oh my
Come
god.
on, man. It's Phil Archer, man.
Phil, yeah, Phil, like I talked to him. Not I wouldn't talk. Texted with him a few months ago. Yeah,
Yeah.
so that there was it was a great group. It was a great
Hmm.
group. Yeah, and obviously Phil came back. Derek came back. So there wasn't that first year, and you then it was a good group of guys, man.
It was a
Yeah.
good group of guys. I mean, I think, unfortunately, Phil didn't he get like injured that year? Uh, I have a
Ooh,
feeling because he wasn't there the whole year, wasn't he? I think he got injured.
did you? I cannot remember.
I remember him being there the first part of the season. Talking about actually not being an asshole. That's a great example of not being an asshole. He's a great guy. Phil.
Mm.
He was.
Well, look, that I still I haven't changed. I think from what I try to coach then is what I try to coach now. It's
Mm,
like you can be a great football player, but you can't be an asshole.
yeah.
Like I'm trying to help help guys become better football players, but become better people too. I just like this morning I was working with a young kid, and I was like, and these are things that happened to me during the week, and I was like, please do this. I said, look,
Yeah.
just do what you say you're going to do, right? And do what you say and say what you do. That's it.
Mm,
That's my advice for today.
mm,
And and his parents were there, and he looking at me like, like, where's this coming from? It's just like
yeah.
it's just some advice I have for you today. Like, and that's kind of what it needs to be. Like, like
Yeah.
we want to win games and have fun and kind of stuff. And I think it's really, if we use football and eliminate the assholes in the world, I think we're doing a really good job.
And we'll be fine.
Yeah.
Well, that's
I
a
want
great
to I
linebacker
want to
group,
finish
man.
off. I want to finish off with the other picture here that I have here on my wall, courtesy of my wife fixing this stuff for me. This is the 2007 team. I don't know if you can see. What is a bit shot? Is this better?
Oh my goodness. Yeah.
How about those triceps, huh?
Yeah. Try to relax a little bit there, buddy.
Huh?
Well, it was Carruthers being an asshole. He wouldn't let me in front of the picture, so that's in line with him.
He's like he got the guns out. He's like let me show my triceps here. Yeah.
Yeah. No, I like that guy, Greg. I mean,
Greg.
shit. The first season, we '05, we did not like each other.
Oh,
Me and
really?
Greg. No. Uh,
Really? Okay.
I'm perfectly confident he would say the same. But when
Oh,
he
well,
came
that's
back
nice.
in '07, it wasn't. I mean, it wasn't outspoken, but I mean, I felt that we were at a good place. One of the things with Emeralds, I have a lot of fond memories, and one of the things I kind of think was really bad, or I feel like shit, that would have been awesome. Because I mean, you saw in that picture, you showed Derek, you showed Greg, and you showed me. All of us were with the Emeralds in '05, and then he was not with the Emeralds in '06. Greg, that is.
Yeah.
Derek
Yeah.
Ballard was there all 3 years. Great player, great person, wild. Talk about an athlete, you know. Talk about a guy that didn't really need to put his work down like in the weight room, but he was a player. I tell you what, he could play
Yeah.
football, and he was fun, and he was everywhere, and he was a great guy. But that was really like coming into that season. I saw like Greg was coming back, and I saw, you know, Jarek was coming back, and I knew myself, and I was like, that's the original lineup.
Yeah. 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 Yeah.
And
Yeah.
unfortunately, and I
Right.
really feel bad about it, is like for his sake, and I mean, I don't know how but he broke his jaw the first game
Oh
in
my God.
pre warm-ups, running around catching footballs, and it's just like a feeling that like shit that shouldn't happen. We should have just played, you know, the whole season, and I mean, the whole season was all rubbish anyway, but um, comparing to the first two when it came to like how we
Mm.
performed, but I mean, like some of the season, you have some memories, and you really wish it didn't go that way. And the '07 season with Greg Carruthers, I mean, damn, I wish he wouldn't have broken his jaw. And I mean, it was minutes before kickoff at Ajax. Is it called Ajax Stadium still?
The arena, I don't know.
Yeah,
Like, I don't know what
Ajax
they
Arena.
call it now.
It was
Yeah.
like minutes before kickoff, or pre warm ups,
Yeah. Pregame.
and
Yeah.
he
Yeah.
broke
Well.
his jaw
Yeah.
running into another player.
Yeah.
Um,
It was
ah,
crazy. Like, it was. I was in the locker room or the coach's office, and I don't know who came. I don't know if it was Beth or somebody came in. And was like, Greg is out. So Greg is out. I was like, we hardly even start warm up.
yeah,
He's like, he broke his jaw. It's like, what has happened?
yeah,
Yeah. So it was like somebody trying to catch a punt or something, and he just ran in. They ran into each other,
yeah.
and that was it. Got
Yeah,
the wired up.
yeah, shit. He was still there. Like hats off to him. He soldiered it out, and I think he came back
Mm,
like with 2 games left.
yeah.
Um, but yeah, I
Yeah.
would have really, that kind of breaks my heart because I really would have enjoyed like watching him play, and like, you know, me, him, and Ball being on the field at the same time.
So here's come to think of it, right? Come to think of it, is that those three guys, right, played other positions and played linebacker for the Admirals. Now,
Yeah,
it's maybe far fetched, but you like at some uh, youth level, you played nose, and those two other guys they played safety.
yeah,
And there was NFL Europe was like, all right, let's see if we can make him, linebackers for the league kind of thing, right? And that was kind of the mo, right? You
yeah,
had defensive linemen who were pretty athletic, but not going to be an NFL player, trying to make him offensive lineman. All kinds of stuff that happened, right? So, but yeah, um, see, I'm looking at this picture. No glasses. You haven't changed anything, man.
well, I told you, you know, we talked a bit before, and we wrote some things, you know, emailed each other, and, you know, used Facebook Messenger, and I told you I was going to put on makeup, but apparently you didn't do it. So
No, it doesn't get any better than this, man.
yeah,
Like, this is it.
no. I
Yeah.
actually, I got my eyesight is poor, so
Mm,
uh,
mm,
the eyesight got worse.
yeah. Well, you still look the same. That's good. Now, so you said you were like 25 ish around 2007.
I Yeah, I think, yeah, I was 2507. Yeah,
Jeez, you're an old man too, huh?
yeah, for sure. 41 now.
That's
I'm catching up.
yeah. We gotta stop talking about how old we are. Because
Yeah,
the alternative is no good, man.
nope,
Nope, nope.
for sure.
Hey man, it was a blast. Thank you very much. We made it over an hour and a half. It was awesome. We had a good time. Thank you very much. And when does your first broadcast start? Is that week 1 or is that preseason?
No, we do. We start the broadcast week 1, but we broadcast the preseason as well. We just don't have any like we don't have we cover it, but we don't show
Test
our
run.
faces. Yeah,
It's like test runs to get
yeah,
back into it.
yeah,
Training camp. All right, cool.
exactly.
All right, brother. Thank you again for being a guest on the show, and we'll have to catch up at some other time. Not wait till what is it? How many years? 17, 16?
I believe, weren't you like? We can start on a whole other podcast again here, but I think you weren't you in Sweden like scouting some players post NFL Europe?
No.
No, that was during NFL Europe. That's right. That's right. That was
Yeah.
You were here watching some.
I was there a couple times, in the NFL Europe time, but not
Yeah,
post.
yeah, yeah. That's what I'm remembering. But otherwise, it was 07, man.
Yeah.
We
Good.
didn't even know, We didn't even know in 07. I thought I was going to be back.
All right. So
And it
let me
folded.
enlighten you this. So the whole league gets there's a meeting in Frankfurt after
Yeah.
the season, 2007 season. Everybody from all 6 teams there, the office staff and everybody. And this is big ballroom and everybody's sitting there waiting. And I guess the managing director of the league, he walks onto the stage. There's a little stand and a microphone, and he's like, "Oh, hi, thank you for everybody for coming here. Unfortunately, I have some bad news. We are closing down the NFL Europe. Thank you very much." And he walked out. And there was this, how things can be silent, right? But it was like there was a vacuum. It was like space. There was
Yeah.
no sound, no whatsoever for what felt like for an hour. And then it was like everybody on the phone calling. We're looking around as guys just on the phone, like, you don't believe what's going to just happen. Like people losing their minds.
Yeah.
That was as he just walked on stage, cool, calm, collective. We're closing up shop. Goodbye, see ya, and he walked off.
Oh, that's heartbreaking, man.
It is like, my first thought was, and we had to come all the way down here for this one sentence, like, but yeah, crazy times, but
Yeah, for sure.
it was great while it lasted. Let's
It
say
was.
that, right?
It
Yeah.
was.
All right, CJ, you have a finish up for a great Sunday, and like I said, we catch up soon, and it was great catching up with you again, man.
You too. Thank you.
All right, brother. Talk to you.
Talk to you.
See ya.